Hello everyone, Darcinovia here once again, and this time I'm reviewing another Star Trek novel, and this is a anthology collection. This is not really a novel in the traditional sense; it's essentially a collection of short stories. Now, recommendation: I would not read this book until after you finish Deep Space Nine, considering, you know, the events throughout this entire, anthology assumes you've already seen the show. And not to mention, the first story and the last story, take place right after Deep Space Nine. Now, I don't usually read short stories. I mean, I haven't touched on them in Star Wars. But considering that if I'm gonna open to review Star Trek content, I'm gonna have to be open to review other stuff besides full-fledged novels. So I decided to read this, considering this is the recommended reading order, at least to start with this, in terms of reading the post Deep Space Nine, novels. This can be read as a standalone, book. If you've already seen Deep Space Nine and you don't want to get involved in a series, you just want to stand alone. This is a good standalone book. Now, this is essentially a short story that focuses on every one of the Dax hosts, but not all of the stories are told through the perspective of those hosts. And honestly, I think that's a good thing, because I think a character like Kuzan Dax, I think it's more interesting if we read it from Sisko's perspective rather than reading it from his point of view. Now, considering that this is about 367 pages, there's only so much they could, talk about when it comes to these, characters. We are introduced to them briefly in one of the episodes of Deep Space Nine, but other than Kuzan, Dax, we don't know much about the others. And every one of these stories gives us, more about each one of these, Daxes. And I think it's interesting. And I do like how, the connections it has to other eras in Star Trek. In one of the stories, we have a young Leonard McCoy be featured as one of the main characters of that particular story. Now, the first story, Ezri, we learn why, Ezri became, the latest host in Dax, and how she didn't really want to be a joined Trill, which is interesting. Which, in the show, it kind of makes sense reading it in that context, considering for those of you who've seen Deep Space Nine, Ezri is a mess. And that's what makes her interesting to watch, because she isn't anything really like Jacia Dax, and that's what makes her interesting to watch. As someone that enjoyed Deep Space Nine immensely, I recently finished it. I wanted more. So, I read this book, and I wasn't disappointed. In fact, it actually exceeded my expectations. There's some stories that I think are better than others, but I don't think there's anything, bad in this. I think all the stories are pretty good, honestly. But my favorite stories is probably Jazia's story and Ezri's, purely because they're the characters I've seen on screen. Jadzia, I feel like, felt like a missing chapter, in her storyline that I wish would have appeared in the show. Like, this, story utilized a character that I almost forgot existed, that appeared at the very beginning of Deep Space Nine. I don't want to give away any spoilers for this. I just would recommend picking this up. If you're looking for a good place to start in terms of standalone Star Trek books, if you've finished Deep Space Nine, this is a good place to start. I give this a classic rating. One of my favorite Star Trek books. And next time I review a Star Trek novel, I'm reviewing a novel I've been waiting to review for a long time. A Stitch in Time. I've been looking forward to this because Garak is one of my favorite characters, and I'm looking forward to reading it. May we live long and prosper. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.